Hello and welcome to the recordings of the advisory group's workshop on what aging parents need to know. Thank you for watching these presentations. Let's first start with some introductions. My name is William Glenn. I am a client services associate as one of the TAG team members. As speakers this morning, please allow me to introduce Brent Beverly, the president of the advisory group, Chris Lee, the vice president of the advisory group, and Manny Chinche, an experienced senior wealth advisor at the advisory group. All three of these gentlemen are certified financial planner practitioners and wealth advisors at our Diamond Bar branch. While they are the wealth advisors of the advisory group, I know that they will agree with me that it is the TAG team members at the advisory group who make us shine. Please check us out and give us an opportunity to help you. At our firm, we partner with our clients and believe an educated client is our best client. While we will always try our best to help you when it comes to your finances, we believe that knowledge is power. One of our missions is to share with our clients any knowledge that can help you make an informed decision. We believe that the more you know, the more you will like what we do and how we do it. As a reminder, it is always important to review that there are 5 key areas of financial planning. They are preservation planning, retirement planning, tax planning, estate planning, and investment planning. As a comprehensive financial services firm, we try to always consider the impact of any recommendation we make on not just one, but all of these areas for our clients. In this workshop, we'll primarily be focusing on retirement planning, which includes medical planning, and estate planning. Our discussion in this presentation is in 4 sections. These are the subjects we will be addressing: taking Social Security, senior medical care, covering long-term care, estate, and legacy planning. Each of these sections could be their own extended presentation, so we'll be covering these with a focus on the basics. In other recorded sections, we have already covered Social Security and senior medical care. To get us rolling on this session regarding long-term care, please allow me to bring up Brent Beverly. Brent?
All right, thank you, Will. Let's spend some time now on the best way to help with regards to long-term care. So, long-term care is another possibly complicated yet very important subject. And let's begin by talking about what's meant by the phrase long-term care. Long-term care refers to the ongoing services and support needed by people suffering from chronic health conditions or disabilities. Let's put that into terms that may make some more sense. As you get older, do you think you will need help getting up and down? Do you think it may be harder for you to do many of the everyday activities that you do today? If so, you may need additional care. There are 3 levels of care that someone might need. The first level is skilled care, which is generally around-the-clock care provided by a professional healthcare provider such as nurses, therapists, or aides under a doctor's supervision. The next level of care is intermediate care, which is also provided by professional healthcare providers, but on a less frequent basis than skilled care. The third level, more common, is called custodial or personal care. This is often provided by family members, nurses' aides, home health workers who can provide assistance with what are called activities of daily living, ADL, activities of daily living, such as bathing, eating, dressing, and this is the most common type of long-term care. Now, all 3 levels of care may be provided in different settings, including your own home, maybe an assisted living facility, or even a nursing home. A long-term care plan is usually made up of different pieces, with many people involved at putting it together. A good long-term care strategy will account for the different levels of care you might need and the different settings in which you might someday receive that care. How many people in this room expect to need long-term care one day? It's not surprising that few of us do, because it's hard to face the fact that our health might decline. But statistics tell us that the risk is greater than you might think. Remember that aging chart that you saw in an earlier presentation. According to the Social Security Administration, about 1 out of every 4 retirees will live past age 90, with 1 out of every 10 living past age 95. So you may even want to plan for this maximum lifespan to reduce the risk that you'll live longer than you expect now. And if you're married, you'll need to consider the joint life expectancies of you and your spouse, which will often differ from your individual life expectancies. Now, with all the new miracles of modern medicine, we expect that ever more and more people will be living longer and healthier lives. So what used to kill people quickly is now treatable, allowing longer lives. Unfortunately, as we age, parts of our bodies simply begin to wear out. Has anyone here noticed that you don't stand up and sit down quite so quickly as you did maybe 10 or 20 years ago? Now, here's a scary statistic. About 70% of us, that's 7 out of every 10 people, will need some kind of long-term care services during their lifetimes at some point after they reach age 65. And although it's good news that people are living longer, the long lifespan increases the chance of developing serious health issues. In fact, according to the Alzheimer's Association, approximately 14% of people age 71 and older already have Alzheimer's disease, which leads to the need for nursing home care. 1 in 3 Americans die with Alzheimer's or some other kind of dementia. While older people are more likely to need long-term care, younger people may need that care too, as a result of a disabling accident or illness such as multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's disease, Lou Gehrig's disease, and so on. Now, I'm not trying to scare you here, but rather I want to remind you that the need for long-term care can happen to anyone at any time. The need to be prepared is real and something that you shouldn't ignore. This chart is a measure of the risks that Americans face from incapacity as they age, specifically the risk of debilitating problems like Alzheimer's or other kinds of dementia, or MCI, which is the acronym for mild cognitive impairment. Now, according to the author, Mr. Gresham, and I quote here, currently 1 in 8 people at age 68 will suffer from one of these illnesses. That figure more than doubles by the time they reach 78 and increases 6-fold by the time they're 88. Over the next 10 years, nearly 1 in 3 people we now serve are likely to become incapacitated, and a great many more will be affected when someone in their life does this. We also have to be there for perhaps 3 generations of family members affected by our aging parents or even grandparents these days. It's a new reality. So when we talk about long-term care, these numbers are simply staggering. Make sure you have a plan of action ready for you, ready for your parents, and ready for your children. Now, the need that we just went through is pretty obvious and a little scary. So let's talk a little bit more about what you might need to receive care. You're probably already familiar with some of these options. If you want to stay in your own home for as long as possible, that's certainly an option, even under a long-term health event. Often family caretakers, friends, trained homemakers can provide the bulk of that assistance with everyday tasks, and professions such as nurses, therapists, and home health care aides can provide occasional or continuous home health care. Now, some folks want to stay in their home with full-time health care. This can be an expensive alternative, but it's one that a lot of people like to have. Another long-term care option that has become very popular is adult daycare facilities, which are community-based centers that provide health care and special services to help people who cannot be left alone. Now, often adult daycare facilities specialize in caring for people with Alzheimer's disease, and they especially benefit the family caregivers, by providing a few hours of much needed respite during the working hours or the weekend, or times when people just need a break. Now, the third option is assisted living. Now, how many of you have ever visited an assisted living facility? If you have, then you know that these are usually home-like facilities that combine housing, personal assistance, and limited health care. Generally, assisted living facilities can provide the intermediate and custodial around the clock, but not the skilled care that a nursing home provides. This option may be ideal for someone who can't continue to live alone or at home, but who wants to remain independent. The last option is nursing homes. Now, nursing homes generally offer all three levels of care: skilled care, intermediate care, personal care. Most nursing home residents have disabling illnesses, including cognitive disorders, cognitive impairment, such as Alzheimer's or dementia, that are so serious that these individuals just cannot be cared for anywhere else. Now, according to the Health and Aging Organization, I have to get it right, 15% of people age 85 and older live in nursing homes, with nearly half needing help with everyday activities. If you haven't already done so, I urge you to visit some of these facilities available in your community so you can get an idea of what long-term care facilities look like, what might be available to you or your family members. As you might expect, the nicer places tend to cost a bit more. Now, I want to note another area here: respite care. Respite care is where the caregiver gets some time away to take care of the rest of their life. Now, if you're the caregiver, you need a break. Periodically, regularly, whatever, especially if you're giving care 24/7. Now, we had one client recently who needed to care for a parent. Because of that parent's condition, they needed to be within 5 feet of the parent at all times. This is a stressful situation, as you can imagine. It was stressful for everyone involved. So we're going to talk more about this kind of stuff in a few minutes. So let's look at what the government's plan, what they're doing now to help people with long-term care needs. There are two programs available: Medicare and Medicaid. Now, Medicaid in California is known as Medi-Cal, same program. So let's take a quick look at these two programs. Most of us have some familiarity with Medicare. So Medicare is designed to provide medical insurance supplement for Americans age 65 and over. So this is really medical coverage. But there are some provisions within Medicare to take care of long-term care needs. So in order to have Medicare pay for any long-term care needs, there are some strict conditions that you need to be aware of. You must have been in the hospital for 3 consecutive days. You must enter an approved facility for the same condition for which you were in the hospital within 90 days. And the doctors must certify that you need daily skilled care. Now notice that, skilled care. We talked about the other kinds of care. In this case, the doctors must certify that you need daily skilled care. So Medicare does not cover intermediate or custodial care. So remember that Medicare was designed to be medical insurance, not long-term care. It's designed to fix you and move you on your way, not take care of you long-term. So the care must be rehabilitative in nature. You must be expected to recover. And if you meet Medicare's requirements, Medicare will pay all reasonable and customary charges for the first 20 days. But for the next 80 days, you're going to pay a copayment of $204 a day. That's the 2024 number. It goes up a little bit every year. If you meet all these conditions, okay, Medicare will pay for that first 100 days, the 20 days and the 80 days. At the 101st day and beyond, you're on your own. Okay, they're not covering anymore. So let's look at what Medicaid, or Medi-Cal here in California, will do for you. While the program is funded by the federal government, it's run by the states. So it's a government program for the needy. If you're not needy, you get to spend down your net worth to qualify. There's a 30 to 60 month look back period, depending on where you are and what your strategy is, where if you've given stuff away, they look back, say, 3 to 5 years and say, you need to pay it even though you gave the money away. Biggest point here is not all nursing homes accept Medi-Cal. You have a much more limited number of facilities for you. Now, there's a constant battle going on with people trying to find more ways to what we call game the system, and regulators finding ways to ensure that people who can pay to take care of themselves pay their fair share. Now, we've seen people putting their homes into irrevocable trust, people who've moved all their assets into annuities, other people who tried to transfer all their assets to their kids or other family, all kinds of things to get the government to pay for their care while not using up all their own assets. Because the government can change the rules whenever they feel necessary, the government usually wins. You see that look back period that we talked about. Every state has a 60-month look back that allows the government to look back on your assets going back 5 years. Every state for California, that is, which currently has a more lenient 30-month look back period. Right? Meaning they're only going to look back 2.5 years. Now, if you're tempted to use any of these qualification concepts, be sure to have a specialist guide you. This is too complex even for us at the advisory group. The rules simply change so often and so drastically, we don't feel competent to make recommendations in this area. You need a specialist who's doing this all the time. We have other concerns as well. How will your spouse take care of himself or herself? If one spouse needs long-term care, are they going to last long enough to wipe out everything and leave a healthy but impoverished spouse to try and continue retirement? If both spouses need long-term care simultaneously, well, who's going to arrange the care? Who will supervise the caregivers? If you're single, who will arrange your care? Who will supervise your caregivers? There's quite a bit here going on. To take us to the next step here, let me bring up Mr. Lee. Chris?
Thank you, Brent. As Brent noted, we have discussed why most of us will have a need for long-term care. What are the costs of care? The costs of care continue to go up. This year, according to Consumer Affairs, the median annual cost of a nursing home is between $85,000 and $150,000 per year. At an assisted living facility, the average cost is $51,600, and the average cost of full-time in-home care is $4,385 per month. Note the change here. The other figures were per year, with the monthly figures in small type for in-home costs. The large figure is monthly. This is a national average. You can imagine that areas such as Orange and Los Angeles counties, the cost will be on the higher end of the range and far higher than the average. Our experience is that the cost of full-time in-home care in our area is more than 3 times that number, or about $15,000 per month. Fortunately, or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, people who are healthy and rich tend to live longer and hence have a greater need for long-term care. If you need long-term care and have more than the government limits in net worth and income, where will you get the funds to pay for care? Or where will you get the funds to pay for the care of a parent? We find that most people, especially those who have not planned for long-term care, start with private payers, paying for their own coverage out of their own pockets. When they use up all of their resources, they end up turning to the government for financial assistance. In addition to the costs paid by the care receiver, there are also costs paid by caregivers, particularly your family, but often others who are taking care of you. 83% of caregivers contributed financially to the cost of care. Plainly put, self-insuring means paying for your own care out of your funds. This is the default program. Spend your money until you run out. If you happen to never need long-term care, well then, this was the right decision. But as in all types of serious expenses, we acquire peace of mind by exploring ways to protect our hard-earned assets. One way to pay for care is the same way we handle other potential disasters in our lives: insurance. Just as you may have homeowners insurance, auto insurance, medical insurance, umbrella liability insurance, life insurance, you can protect your family by having long-term care insurance. There are two fundamental types of long-term care insurance: traditional long-term care insurance, or what we will call hybrid policies. Let's explore how these work. When you have insurance to cover your long-term care needs, the policies typically use the federal guidelines to determine the triggers for long-term care. Once you meet the triggers, the insurance will begin paying benefits under the terms of the policy, usually for much more than just helping with the triggered activities. These guidelines are usually used for both traditional long-term care policies and hybrid policies with additional long-term care benefits. We have ordered these to make them easier to remember: B, C, D, E, T, T. The federal guidelines require needing assistance in 2 out of 6 activities of daily living, or what we will call ADLs, to qualify for benefit. Bathing, being able to wash yourself without assistance. Continence, being able to control your bladder and bowels. Dressing, being able to dress yourself without assistance. Eating, can you feed yourself? This is much easier than you might expect. It is simply, can you take the food from the plate and put it into your mouth unassisted? It does not include preparing the food. The first T, toileting, being able to use the bathroom without assistance. And transferring. This means being able to get out of the bed, across the room, and into your chair, and then back again on your own. In addition, you can qualify for benefits through cognitive impairment. Most people think of this as Alzheimer's, but there are other forms of dementia that also qualify. Just last year, an acquaintance of ours had a stroke and will never be the same mentally. Unfortunately, the family has no long-term care coverage, and it is tearing up their entire family, the wife and the children and their business. If you meet the triggered conditions, the insurance will begin to provide its benefits. Some policies have an elimination period. During this period, you qualify for the benefits, but the insurance company will not pay for the period of the elimination period. We see elimination periods of 0 days or 10, 30, 60, 90 days or more. It is important to check the elimination period on any policy you may want. Once the benefits are triggered, you are not limited to just those conditions for care. Other expenses are also available for reimbursement. These other activities are called instrumental activities of daily living, IADLs. IADLs are not necessary for fundamental functioning, but they let an individual live independently in a community. They include, but are not limited to, activities such as housework, managing money, taking medications, preparing and cleaning up after meals, shopping for groceries or clothes, using the telephone or other communication devices, caring for pets, responding to emergency alerts such as a fire alarm. Once you decide to buy long-term care insurance, you'll want a plan that provides the broadest coverage at a price you can afford. Policies vary widely, so it's important to make sure any policies you're comparing are alike. Although we can't cover everything today that you should look at, here are 5 key features to consider, all of which will affect the premium you'll pay. First, you'll need to choose the benefit amount that you'll be payable should you need care. The daily benefit amount is the maximum amount your policy will pay each day and generally ranges between $50 to $350 a day. You'll also need to choose a benefit period, which is the length of time your policy will pay long-term care benefits once you need care. Most benefit periods range from 1 to 6 years, with some policies offering a lifetime benefit. If you can't afford a lifetime benefit, you may want to choose a benefit period that coordinates with the look-back period for Medicaid, which is 5 years. In addition, every long-term care policy allows you to choose an elimination period, the number of days you will pay for your own care before the benefit kicks in. Most policy offers periods ranging from 20 to 100 days. This is your deductible. When you might want to receive care in the future is another important consideration. Although you can purchase bare bones policies that only cover nursing home costs, many policies cover care in a variety of settings, including the 4 mentioned at the beginning of the seminar: your own home, an assisted living facility, an adult daycare center, and a nursing home. You'll also need to decide whether or not you want inflation protection. With inflation protection, your benefit will increase by a certain percentage each and every year. Inflation protection is an optional feature and will make your premium rise significantly, but is important to have if you want your coverage to keep pace with rising costs. Please make note of this. This feature is often overlooked and is very important. Each of these features can be set individually within a traditional long-term care insurance policy. You can typically set these at whatever level you want within certain limits. In a hybrid policy, usually you have very little flexibility with setting the features. They are standardized by the policy. Let's look at hybrid or asset-based long-term care insurance. These policies use existing funds to help pay for future long-term care expenses. We find that clients often have assets to make sure that they, quote unquote, don't run out of money, or what they like to call their just-in-case money. Even people with significant assets have this lurking fear that somehow they will lose their net worth and need these additional assets to take care of their day-to-day expenses. So what kind of assets are we talking about? We're talking about certificates of deposits, bonds, bank accounts, annuities. Old cash value life insurance policies may work as well. For those who qualify, hybrid long-term care policies can leverage those funds to create significant additional wealth. So what can you do with these? They can provide what we call access to principal. These policies can provide for principal protection, a guarantee that you can get all or substantial portions of your money should you actually need it. They will also provide some rate of return. These policies also like to provide a legacy for their heirs if they don't need the funds for themselves. This is a need we see all the time. If I don't need it, then I want it to take care of my heirs the best way I can. How would you like to provide for your heirs with a larger legacy than the CD would have? Finally, these assets help handle potential long-term care. Just what we've been reviewing today. They can provide reimbursement for long-term care expenses. We have seen 3 to 5 times as much money as was invested. Using a hybrid policy, we can improve your resources manyfold. A hybrid policy can actually provide increased benefits for each of these areas, what we call leveraging your assets. For example, using the funds in a CD, you may be able to keep the benefits of a CD, in other words, access to principal protection, and getting a rate of return, while at the same time providing an increased legacy for your heirs and coverage for the potential need for long-term care. The actual benefits provided vary widely depending on the company and the policy that is used. So be sure to compare policies based on your personal situation. Be especially wary of policies that use the term chronic illness rider. This is usually an indication that the policy is not really a long-term care policy. We think it is wise to be guided by someone knowledgeable in this area whom you trust. Make sure your agent is properly licensed to provide long-term care services. Long-term care insurance is not the best approach for everyone. Here are some recommended guidelines that we use. Premiums should be less than 7% of your income. Your assets should be more than $100,000, excluding your home. Income should be more than $30,000 per year. And remember, you must qualify medically. To wrap up this session, I would like to bring back Mr. Beverly. Brent?
Thank you, Chris. Now, of course, there are important disclosures that need to be made. We recommend that you pause this so you can read them in detail. We want to thank you for attending today. We hope you enjoyed gaining new knowledge, and we're thankful for the opportunity to assist you with your financial needs. So remember, at our firm, clients always come first, and your health and well-being is our highest priority. And we believe that you will find the knowledge that you've gained today to be helpful for you and your family. Now, if you have any questions or would like to be added to our distribution list for up-to-date information, please reach out to us. We're glad to be of service. Now, this concludes our presentation, but remember, we have 3 other presentations from this same session that we recommend that you listen to the other 3 as well. So thank you again. Always our pleasure. Have a wonderful day.